When night falls and the world goes quiet, something ancient stirs within you. Your blood, that silent river flowing through your veins, carries every memory, every word, every command you've ever given yourself. You think it forgets, but it doesn't. It listens, it responds. Long before science gave it a name, the ancients understood your body is not just flesh, it is a living prayer, obeying the whispers of your mind. And every night before you sleep, you hold a sacred power to speak healing, strength, and renewal into the very stream of life that keeps you alive. Watch till the end, hit subscribe, and remember, the real change begins now. Beneath the skin, beneath the noise of thought and the weight of memory, flows a river you rarely think about. It does not ask for recognition, nor does it pause to demand your attention. Yet it carries you moment by moment, through every breath and every heartbeat. This river is your blood, the silent stream that sustains your existence. You do not see it, but you feel its consequence in the strength of your body, the clarity of your mind, the vitality that keeps you moving through the world. Most people treat it as nothing more than biology, a mechanism, a fluid that circulates without thought. But to reduce it to chemistry alone is to miss the mystery entirely. Your blood is the messenger of your inner life. It is the courier of oxygen, the bearer of nourishment, the very bridge between what you imagine and what you experience. If the mind is the architect, the blood is the builder, translating every thought into a living structure of flesh, emotion, and action. Consider this: when you are afraid, when your mind whispers danger, your blood obeys. It floods your muscles, sharpens your senses, prepares you for battle or escape. And when you are calm, when you breathe deeply and hold peace in your chest, your blood responds again, slowing, softening, carrying messages of safety to every cell. You see, it does not argue with you, it listens, always listening, always translating the unseen into the physical. This is why your relationship with it matters. To ignore it is to live unconsciously, letting fear, anger, or despair drip unnoticed into the river that sustains you. Every unspoken doubt, every repeated word of self-condemnation leaves its mark, but so too does every word of courage, every image of strength, every whisper of faith. Your blood does not decide which to keep, it carries whatever you pour into it. That is its loyalty and its danger. Imagine standing beside an ancient river at dusk. You toss into it what you no longer want, and it carries it away, silently, without complaint. You toss into it also what you cherish, seeds of growth, fragments of hope, and it carries them too, planting them deep within unseen soil. This is what you do every day, whether you realize it or not. Your words, your thoughts, your emotions, they are offerings to the river of your life. To speak to your blood then is not fantasy, it is recognition. Recognition that you are not powerless, that the current within you responds to your voice. You are not a passenger floating helplessly downstream, you are a shaper of the waters. And if you choose to speak with intention, with reverence, your blood will obey as it always has, carrying your instructions into the hidden chambers of your body, into the silent workshop of your cells. This truth is not new, it is older than medicine, older than science. The sages knew it, the healers whispered it, the ancients practiced it without the language of molecules and chemistry, yet they understood its reality. And now, standing in the modern world, you have the chance to remember it again, not as superstition, but as lived experience. Your blood is not distant from you, it is you. And when night comes, when you lie down in the quiet and prepare to surrender to sleep, that river is still awake. It listens, it receives, it obeys. And this leads us to the next truth: if blood is the river, then words are the language. To understand the language of the body is to reclaim a power most have forgotten. There was a time when human beings spoke not only to each other, but to themselves. They spoke to the land, to the wind, to their own flesh and bones, as though every part of existence were alive, because to them it was. A farmer would speak to the seed before planting it. A mother would sing to her child before birth. A healer would whisper into the pulse of a patient, trusting that the body heard every word. This was not ritual for ritual's sake, it was relationship, a dialogue between mind, spirit, and the living body. Somewhere along the way, we lost this language. We learned to speak to machines instead, to let screens and systems carry our words, while our own bodies were left in silence. We began treating the body as a servant, something to command only when it breaks down, something separate from us, instead of the very vessel we inhabit. And in that forgetting, we lost a source of power more intimate than any external tool. But the truth is simple, the body never stopped listening. Your blood, your heart, your breath, they record every word, every belief, every whisper of emotion. When you tell yourself you are weak, your body obeys. When you declare you are strong, your body rallies. The conversation never ceased, Only your awareness of it did. Think of it like music. A violin left in silence still holds its potential, waiting for someone to draw the bow across its strings. The body is the same. It waits, patiently, for you to remember that you can play it, that you can send vibrations of healing, peace and energy through its frame, simply by how you speak to it. Words are not empty, they are frequencies, carrying intention that your blood and cells translate into form. You may not see it immediately. The change is subtle, like the quiet shift of a tide, or the slow growth of roots beneath the earth, but the body remembers. Night after night, it stores the echoes of what you whisper before you sleep, and with time, those whispers take shape as strength, resilience and renewal, or as illness, fatigue and despair. The choice of language is yours. To reclaim this forgotten dialogue is not about shouting affirmations into the void. It is not about tricking yourself with words you don't believe. It is about honesty, spoken with intention. To say to your blood, heal me, not as a desperate plea but as a calm instruction. To say restore my strength, not as a wish, but as a command given with reverence. The body does not judge your sincerity. It responds to your consistency. And here lies the key: practice. A single whisper may stir the surface, but repetition carves the channel. Each night you choose to speak, you deepen the pathway between thought and flesh, mind and blood. Slowly the forgotten language becomes fluent again, which leads us into the next truth. If the body is listening, then what happens when you speak to it at the very moment it begins its greatest work, in the silence of sleep? When you close your eyes at night, you might think the world within you grows still. But the truth is, that is when your body awakens to its most sacred labor. While your mind drifts into dreams, another intelligence takes command. Quiet, tireless, unseen. Your blood becomes the night watchman, moving silently through corridors of flesh, carrying the tools of repair, the codes of renewal, the whispers of instruction you have given it. Science tells us that sleep is not rest, but construction. Muscles torn in the day are stitched in the night. Wounds invisible to the eye are mended beneath the cover of darkness. The immune system sharpens its blades, cleansing, defending, rebuilding. All of it happens in silence, without announcement, while you float in a world of images and stories. And yet, what guides this labor is not only biology but belief. The instructions carried into sleep become the blueprints by which your blood restores you. Think of it this way: every night is a council. Your cells gather like workers waiting for orders, ready to rebuild the temple they guard, your body. If you go to sleep filled with despair, anger, or doubt, then those are the orders delivered. They will follow them faithfully, constructing a body heavy with tension, a mind clouded with unrest. But if you speak strength, if you whisper renewal, if you instruct your blood to cleanse and fortify, then those are the orders received, and the night watchman obeys. This is why words before sleep matter more than words in the day. The day is noisy, cluttered with interruptions, doubts and distractions, but the night is pure. The last words you speak, the last images you hold, flow unchallenged into the subconscious, and from there, into the bloodstream. The body works from those impressions, like a craftsman carving from a sketch. Consider how often people fall asleep replaying pain, the argument at work, the fear of failure, the uncertainty of tomorrow. Without realizing it, they are programming their blood with unrest, instructing their cells to carry stress into the very hours meant for restoration. They wake heavy, not because sleep failed, but because the instructions were poisoned. But imagine another way. Imagine lying down, closing your eyes, and with slow breath saying to your blood, "Tonight you heal. Tonight you cleanse. Tonight you rebuild me stronger than I was this morning." Imagine the current carrying those words like seeds into the soil of your body. As you drift into dreams, the workers begin their labor, guided by that command. You wake not only rested, but renewed. This is not wishful thinking. This is cooperation with the intelligence that never sleeps inside you. There are thoughts that pass like shadows, gone before you even notice them. And then there are thoughts that are not just ideas, but keys. Keys that do not open doors made of wood or steel, but doors hidden inside your life. Doors you walked past 1,000 times, never knowing they were there. Most people live in hallways trapped by repetition, convinced the walls around them are solid. But the truth is, the walls are paper, and one thought, just one shift in perception, has the power to tear them open. That thought is not distant. It is not reserved for saints or sages. It is already inside you, waiting to be chosen. Stay with me until the end. Hit subscribe and remember, the real change begins now. Most people imagine a prison as a place built of stone, steel, and barbed wire. But the most powerful prisons need none of these. They exist entirely inside the mind, and they are so effective that the prisoner rarely realizes they are locked in. In fact, many decorate their cells, polish the bars, and even defend them, believing this prison is just the way life is. The walls of this prison are not physical. They are built from unexamined beliefs, repeated thoughts, and the stories we inherited without question. From childhood you were handed silent scripts. This is what you can expect. This is who you are. This is where you belong. Don't go further than this. These phrases may not have been spoken outright, but they echoed in tone, in culture, in the limits of the people around you. And slowly, without noticing, you began to mistake these invisible lines for the edge of reality. Think of a circus elephant. When it is young, a chain is tied around its legs, staked to the ground. The young elephant pulls and pulls, but the chain is too strong. Eventually, it stops trying. Years later, the massive adult elephant could rip the stake from the earth with ease, but it doesn't. It remains tied, not by the chain, but by the memory of limitation. This is how the hidden prison works. The cell door is already open, but the prisoner never tries to leave. You may believe your struggles are caused by external forces, a lack of money, education, support, or opportunity. And yes, these factors are real. But deeper still, the greater barrier is the belief that you cannot move without permission, that you must wait for some outside savior, some perfect moment, some guarantee of success before you dare to act. But here is the truth. The walls of the mind prison are paper thin. The only thing keeping them intact is your agreement with them. Ask yourself, how many times have you said, "That's just the way I am," or "That's not possible for me," or "I could never do that"? Each of these phrases is a bar on your cell. Each one feels solid, yet each one is an illusion. The tragedy is that most people never even question the shape of their prison. They walk in circles, tracing the same familiar routes, mistaking repetition for stability, and when life feels unbearably small, they don't suspect the walls, they blame themselves. But you are beginning to notice. You would not be listening if some part of you wasn't already pressing against the walls, testing for weakness. The first step to freedom is not escape, it is recognition. You must see the bars before you can break them. You must admit that you have been living in a story, one that was written for you, not by you. And the moment you see this, the prison begins to dissolve, because thought cannot hold you once it has been exposed as thought. From here the journey begins. Because behind the illusion of walls there is space, behind the belief of limitation, there is possibility, and behind the prison you have mistaken for your life, there are doors waiting to be opened. Cycles are powerful things. They repeat themselves so often, so quietly, that you begin to mistake them for truth. You wake up the same way, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, make the same choices, and call it life. But what you are really experiencing is not life itself. It is a pattern, looping over and over again, and yet all it takes to break a cycle is a single spark, one interruption, one new thought, one moment of clarity that says, wait, it doesn't have to be this way. Think of the wheel of a cart rolling endlessly in the dirt. The groove gets deeper each time until it feels impossible to steer out. That groove is your routine, your conditioning, your default way of being. Most people spend their entire lives trapped inside that groove, mistaking its narrow path for destiny. But the truth is, even the deepest rut can be escaped the moment you turn the wheel slightly. That turn, that shift is the spark. But here's the difficult part. The spark never arrives as thunder. It does not knock on your door with a grand announcement. It whispers. It hides inside discomfort. Inside that quiet restlessness you feel at night when you know something is missing. It hides inside the ache you feel when you look at your reflection and wonder where the fire went. Most ignore it. They drown it out with noise, distraction, endless scrolling, or the comfort of routines that feel familiar but suffocating. But those who dare to listen discover something miraculous. The cycle can be broken at any point. It does not matter how long you have been walking in circles. One spark can redraw the path entirely. Let me tell you this, every great transformation begins in an ordinary moment. Not when everything is perfect, not when conditions are right, but when someone says enough. I will no longer live as a shadow of myself. It might happen while standing in line at a grocery store, or while lying awake in bed at 2 a.m., or while staring out of a window with no reason at all. Suddenly, the fog lifts and you see that you've been sleepwalking through a script that isn't yours. In that instant your soul whispers the most dangerous and liberating thought, I can choose differently. That is the spark. You don't have to know the whole journey. You don't need every answer. You only need the courage to step outside of the groove, to interrupt the rhythm that has kept you bound. The cycle is strong, but it is not eternal. And here is the beautiful part. Once the spark ignites, the cycle cannot fully return to what it was. You will feel it even if you try to go back. What once felt normal will now feel like a cage. The groove that once felt safe will feel unbearably small. This is why people say change is irreversible once the soul awakens. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot unknow the truth that life is bigger than the loop you've been walking. The cycle begins to crack, and through the crack light enters. That light reveals a door you never knew existed, and the moment you see it, even faintly, you are no longer the same. The cycle ends where the spark begins, and that spark is not in some distant future, it is waiting now in you. Reality is not as solid as you believe. It bends, shifts, and reshapes itself according to the thoughts you hold most consistently. What you call life is not a fixed stage but a living mirror, and the image reflected back to you is determined by the story you keep telling yourself. Most people live in the illusion that they are powerless observers. They believe the world acts upon them, that they are at the mercy of circumstances, chance, or fate. But here is the truth: reality listens. It does not argue with you. It echoes you. Every thought you repeat becomes a command. Every image you dwell upon becomes blueprints for the unseen architects of your life. If you tell yourself you are unlucky, you will find doors closing. If you believe opportunities are scarce, you will overlook the ones already around you. And if you quietly believe you are unworthy, the world will reflect back 1,000 reasons to confirm it. So ask yourself now, what is the desire that refuses to die inside you? The one you carry silently, the one that speaks when the noise of the world goes quiet. That is the compass. That is the voice you must trust. And when you follow it, something extraordinary happens. You begin to realize that the doors you thought were locked were never locked at all. They were simply waiting for you to turn the handle. Guided by the compass only you can read. It is one thing to see the door. It is another thing entirely to walk through it. Most people stop at the threshold. They sense possibility. They glimpse freedom. They even feel the pull of destiny. But when their hand reaches for the handle, fear tightens its grip. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of losing what is familiar, even if what is familiar is suffocating. This is the quiet tragedy of human life. Not that doors do not exist, but that so few have the courage to step through them. Understand this: courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite fear. It is the trembling hand that still turns the knob, the shaking legs that still take the step. Every person you admire, every story of transformation you know, was born not of perfect confidence, but of imperfect courage. Think of the explorers who set sail when the world believed the oceans would swallow them. Think of the artist who risked ridicule to paint what had never been painted. Think of the ordinary men and women who left behind certainty to chase something that called to their soul. None of them knew the outcome, but all of them knew this: to remain still was to betray themselves, and so it is with you. The doors in your life will not open because you sit and wait. They open when you act, when you step forward without the guarantee of success, when you choose to trust the pull of your own becoming more than the comfort of your current cage. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. Yes, it will feel like loss at first. You will leave behind familiar routines, safe patterns, even parts of yourself you once clung to. But what is left behind is not who you truly are. It is only who you thought you had to be. Courage reveals truth. The moment you step through, you realize the monsters you feared were shadows, the walls you imagined were smoke, and the freedom you longed for was waiting on the other side. But here's what makes courage so sacred: no one else can do it for you. The mentor can point to the door, the books can describe it, even destiny itself can call your name. But only you can place your hand on the handle, only you can walk through, and when you do, you discover that courage is not a one-time act, it is a practice. Each new door requires it again. Each threshold demands that you lay down fear and step forward anyway. This is why courage is the true currency of transformation. Without it, doors remain closed. With it, the world begins to open. So ask yourself, what door have you been standing before? What threshold have you delayed crossing because fear has whispered its lies? The door is waiting. The question is not whether it will open. The question is whether you will step through. And when you do, when you finally gather your courage and cross the threshold, you will see something extraordinary. On the other side of fear, life expands in ways you never imagined. And it is here, beyond the door, that destiny begins to take shape. When you stand at the edge of change, it is easy to believe you are alone. Alone in your struggle, alone in your courage, alone in your journey through the unknown. And yet, nothing could be further from the truth. Life has a way of sending allies the moment you dare to move. They rarely arrive before you take the step because they are not meant for the person you used to be. They are waiting for the person you are becoming. This is why so many people never discover their hidden allies. They never move, never risk, never step beyond the familiar, so the allies remain invisible. But when you cross the threshold, when you finally act with courage, doors open not only within you but around you, and through those doors come people, resources, and synchronicities you could not have planned if you tried. Think back to your own life. Have you ever noticed that in your darkest moments someone appeared? A word, a book, a chance meeting, arriving at just the right time. It felt like coincidence, but in truth it was alignment. Life answers movement with guidance. The allies you never knew you had may come as mentors, friends or strangers who see something in you that you cannot yet see in yourself. Sometimes they arrive as opportunities, or even as challenges that force you to grow in ways you didn't know were possible. And often the most powerful ally is not outside of you at all, but within, a hidden strength that only reveals itself under pressure. Here is the mystery: the very moment you step forward, the universe rearranges itself to meet you. Not because it owes you, but because life responds to courage. Doors that were once invisible suddenly appear, and standing on the other side are the allies you had been searching for all along. But do not mistake this for magic that requires no effort. The allies arrive, but you must recognize them. They may not look like what you expected. Help sometimes comes disguised as difficulty, a push when you wanted comfort, a challenge when you wanted ease. But if you look closer, you will see the gift hidden within the test. The truth is, you were never meant to walk this journey entirely alone. Every great story, every hero's path includes guides, companions, and helpers along the way. And your story is no different. The moment you begin to live with intention, allies begin to reveal themselves. And the more you trust this, the less you cling to the illusion of isolation. You begin to realize that life itself is conspiring with you, not against you. So when you feel fear whispering that you are on your own, remember this: the allies you need are already in motion. They are waiting at the crossroads ahead, ready to meet the version of you who has chosen to step forward. And when you meet them, when you discover that you were never walking alone, the weight you carry lightens, the road feels clearer, and you begin to sense a deeper truth. Life is not only testing you, it is supporting you. And that support will carry you toward doors you never dreamed were yours to open. This lesson ties everything together: the awareness, belief, clarity, and persistence you've been building throughout the journey. Here we'll dive into the idea that life becomes smoother, more aligned, and filled with serendipity once you adopt the one-thought mindset. Instead of constantly pushing or forcing, opportunities seem to appear naturally, as though the world itself is collaborating with you. We'll illustrate Ron Perot's synchronicity in action, how random meetings, unexpected calls, or lucky breaks are often triggered by your internal alignment. Trusting timing: when doors don't open immediately, it doesn't mean they're locked forever. Sometimes the hallway is teaching you patience, resilience, or preparing you for a bigger opening. Daily integration: living with curiosity, asking what door might open if I lean into this. This playful mindset keeps energy high and attracts momentum. Transformation: by this stage, the person is no longer waiting for one big door. They're surrounded by countless doors, each leading to new levels of growth, love, success, or peace. Imagine walking through life with a quiet confidence, a sense that the world is not against you but guiding you. The one thought you've carried, the belief that doors are everywhere, waiting for your recognition, begins to shape not just moments, but the very rhythm of your life. You notice that things feel easier, serendipity becomes more common. You're no longer straining to make opportunities happen, instead opportunities begin to find you. This is not luck, it is alignment. When your inner world shifts, your outer world responds. You've probably already experienced glimpses of this: the chance encounter with someone who provides the very solution you've been seeking, the unexpected email that opens a career path, the book that falls into your hands at precisely the right time. These are not coincidences, they are doors revealing themselves the moment you're ready to walk through. Life at its core is responsive. When you live in constant fear, you attract obstacles that match that frequency. When you live in curiosity and openness, the world mirrors back doors of possibility. The flow happens when you stop pushing against life and start moving with it. But let's be honest, not every door opens the moment you knock. Sometimes you stand in a hallway of waiting and it feels endless. This is where trust comes in. A closed door doesn't mean rejection. Often it means preparation. Perhaps the timing isn't right, or perhaps you need to grow stronger before stepping into what lies beyond. The hallway itself is part of the lesson. It teaches patience, resilience, and faith in unseen timing. Consider this: every person who achieves something extraordinary went through periods where doors seemed locked. But by holding on to that one thought, there is always a door, they stayed alert, they kept trying keys, they remained ready, and when the right door finally swung open, they were prepared to step through fully. To live in the flow is to make peace with timing, to stop demanding that every door open instantly, and to trust that the right doors never stay shut forever. This mindset transforms frustration into curiosity. Instead of saying, "Why isn't this happening?" you begin to ask, "What is this hallway teaching me?" That shift changes everything. In practical terms, this means living with curiosity each day. Instead of dreading routine, you begin to ask, what door might open if I smile at this stranger? What door might open if I share my idea instead of keeping it hidden? What door might open if I finally say yes? These tiny acts of leaning forward create ripples that often become waves, and soon you'll notice something profound. You are no longer waiting for a single grand door. You are surrounded by countless doors, each one leading to growth, love, wisdom, peace, or success. Life itself becomes a series of openings, and the thought that started it all, that one powerful thought, continues to unlock pathways you never imagined existed. This is the flow. A life where resistance fades, where synchronicity feels normal, and where your days are filled not with fear of closed doors, but with excitement for the ones about to open. So the next time you feel stuck, remember, the hallway is part of the journey. The delay is not denial. The universe has not forgotten you. Stay present, stay curious, and keep that thought alive. The doors are there and they will open, and when they do, you'll realize something beautiful. It wasn't the doors that changed, it was you. You became the person who could see them, trust them, and step through them without hesitation. That is what it means to live in the flow of doors opening, a life of trust, synchronicity, and infinite possibility. You've now walked through an idea that may feel simple at first, yet it holds the power to transform the way you live. One thought, carried with belief, can open doors you never knew existed. Think back to where we began. A single key, a hallway filled with possibilities, and the reminder that so often, we stop before even reaching for the handle. But with this thought, there is always a door, and it will open. You've learned to see differently, to pause in moments of doubt, and remind yourself, opportunity has not vanished, I just need to look again. Perhaps you've already felt the stirrings of this shift while listening, a memory of a moment when life surprised you with timing too perfect to be random, a realization that maybe those coincidences weren't coincidences at all, or maybe, even now, you sense the quiet opening of something new on your horizon. The real power of this thought is not just in believing it once, it is in carrying it daily, weaving it into the fabric of your choices, your words, and your expectations. Each time you whisper it to yourself, you are training your mind to see doors where others see walls. You are aligning your inner world with the hidden architecture of the outer world. And here is the mystery: the moment you truly live as though doors are always present, they are. It's as if the universe, hearing your certainty, rearranges itself to meet you. The doors may not always open in the way you expect, but they always open in the way you need. So the next time you face resistance, remember this journey. Remember the stories, the lessons, the contrasts. Ask yourself, am I staring at a wall, or am I overlooking a door? Stand in that hallway with trust. Hold the thought like a lantern in your hand. Let it light the hidden edges until the handle appears. And when it does, reach out boldly, push gently, step through with the confidence that life is conspiring for you, not against you. Because the truth is this: the doors have always been there. They were waiting for you to believe, to notice, to knock. And now, as you carry this thought forward into your nights, your mornings, your choices, may you discover what has always been true, that life is not a maze of walls, but a world of doors, and every single one of them is waiting for you.